Hello, hey there everyone. Thank you for joining me tonight. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make lovely and quirky hand embroidery kits. And I'm here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time, and it's a time when we can relax and craft together for about an hour, and we typically work on projects from beginning to end. So I have not been here the past few days because I'm getting over a cold, but we're gonna try and power through tonight. So hello everyone popping in again. It is nice to see all of y'all again. We're gonna keep it real simple here tonight since I'm just kind of easing back into things a little bit. Just a lingering cold, and it is driving me nuts. So I'm powering through it. I want to get back to the normalness again. So we are going to just finish up our Fashionable Pineapple tonight. We are just about done with this. All I have to do yet is put little French knots in each one of these. So nice and easy. And then we're going to call it a night. So I'm hoping that, I'll feel a little bit better tomorrow for new block. Thursday, tomorrow, we get the new block from the Splendid Sampler quilt along. So go check out the splendidsampler.com. And if you get on the newsletter, then it'll come up in your email tomorrow morning. So yeah, still feeling, man, I had like 2 really bad days of a cold, and it wasn't even that bad. It was a fast moving cold, but man, the rest of it's been just sticking around here. So we're pushing through tonight. It is great to see all of you all again. I'm going to flip you around and let's stitch something. All right, I still have my crazy mess here. I have not cleaned anything up, but that is okay. We don't need to do that for our little pineapple guy here. So, okay, so we have done everything on here except for stitched our little French knots in the middle of these. So you can see there's some dots there. We put those dots there before, like we traced that from our template, from our instructions here. We placed those dots before we did all of our needle turn applique and everything. Those dots, I think, are all supposed to go in the center, and they didn't all end up in the center. There's a few that are in the center, so that's not too bad. Some are kind of way off. So I'm going to ignore those completely, and I'm going to go right in the center of these guys. Thanks, you guys. Yeah, I'm working my way back into things, so hopefully I'll make it here tonight. So, alrighty. I wanted to do a color that kind of popped a little bit more. I don't want it to pop so much that it takes us out of, this pale color world that we're working in. But I do want it to put some emphasis on these little squares because we chose a color for behind here. We did like this little yellow gingham, and I don't think that's popping very, very much. Ooh, ginger tea every day. We've been making some juice in our juicer. We just got a juicer. So we've been putting some ginger into some of the juices we were doing. And man, that feels awesome for sure. But I'll have to do some more tea tonight. So here's some options. So I have my little bin, my Craft a Happy Life bin here. This is just where I put all my excess embroidery floss. So just all my random bits of embroidery floss here. So I was thinking, let's just pull some bits. We could do this brown, although I'm thinking that's maybe too contrasty. Like that's really, really dark. Let's see. I have this yellow. That would maybe work, but that kind of blends in too much even. I have a lot of this gold. This would maybe be neutral enough but still pop a little bit. I don't know, I also have, here's some kind of dark orange hiding in here. See, I think this orange is actually really cute, but I'm wondering if it pops too much, just because, remember, I am going for a really pale quilt here. So when I say I want things to pop, I don't mean too much, because remember, we're only making things pop like every 5 blocks or so in my personal quilt here. You think gold, you guys? Yeah, a few of you are saying gold. I kind of am leaning towards that as well. I feel like it blends in enough, but it pops enough too. Yeah, you know what? I think let's go with the gold. Let's just make a quick decision here. I have one other way that we could make it pop a little bit more. So in the instructions, she's saying to use 2 strands of embroidery floss. I think I'm going to use all 6 strands. So embroidery floss typically comes with six strands, so you can see them all there. 6 strands, and we could separate them and then just stitch with 2 strands. And what that would do is just make smaller knots. But if we use all 6 strands, then we'll have like a super hefty knot, which will make the knots like pop even more. So I think that's an additional way that we could add some volume or some contrast, I guess. All right, so I'm just kind of, I don't know, grabbing 24 inches or so. Let's snip. All right. 6 is great. Oh, you like that idea? Okay, good, done. Yeah, so the different strands, here, I'll show you guys how I'm doing this again. I taught my husband how to thread a needle this way yesterday. But the more strands, the bulkier our knots are going to be, so I think that'll be good. All right, so this is the pinch method. So 6 strands, even more difficult to thread through a needle, right? Because you got to stuff more strands in there. So instead of licking it, or, you know, some people fold it over a needle and get a nice sharp edge that way, but now you got twice as many threads that you're trying to get through there. I use the pinch method. So first thing I do is just snip, give myself a nice clean edge, and then I put it in my fingers here, and I make like a pinching motion. So like I'm pinching shut, and now I'm gradually releasing that pinch. So pinching shut, and now I'm going to gradually release, and the moment I see a little bit of thread there, I'm going to put my needle right over the top of that, like the eye of the needle. And I'm going to continue to ooh, I think I missed one, but I'm going to continue to unpinch, and I should get them all, but I missed one, so we're going to just try that again. So pinch, unpinch slightly, and I see my threads there. Squish that over the top, and there you go. And I can grab those threads and pull them through. So that is the pinch method. You know what, to start, I think I'll just start with a knot. Sometimes with embroidery, I don't start with a knot, but in this case, since we're just dealing with fabric, I'm going to just start with a knot here. All right, so I could use an embroidery hoop, but you don't need an embroidery hoop. All I have to do is make sure that I don't pull my stitches too close to each other so they start bunching. Like I'm going to jump from one hole to another, and I don't want them to bunch like that. So as long as I don't do that, we should be okay. So I'm going to scoot you guys down here a little bit more. I'm laughing to myself because, as you guys know, I have been binging on Grey's Anatomy. So like me bringing the camera lower, I feel like I'm bringing like when you go to the dentist, like when they bring the light closer, closer to like their surgery, and I got my needle. I'm gonna make some sutures here on this pineapple. All right, so I'm gonna just start at the bottom. We'll just zigzag our way up here, I think. So, all right, and this is a good example too because we do have a dot that's kind of in the middle here. After this one, I'm just gonna wing it, just trying to get in the middle. But for a French knot, I want to come up on one side of that dot. So I don't come exactly in the center. I usually come on the lower right side of that knot. All right, and I'm gonna bring it all the way up. You will notice like it took me a little heft to pull the needle through. That's because I have 6 strands of floss. That's a lot of strands sometimes for quilting weight fabric to to handle. It's a lot of bulk to be pulling through these little bits of weaving, and I got several layers here, so I may have to yank a little bit more than usual. Okay, now for the French knot, I am going to I'm going to hold up the thread from where I pulled it out of the fabric, and I'm going to hold my needle. I'm going to point it away from the fabric, so I'm kind of making like a loop with my floss here and pointing my needle away from the fabric, and I'm going to wrap around twice. Then I'm going to hold those wraps with my finger, and while I'm holding it, I'm going to point it back to the dot. So there I am, right back at the dot. But I'm going to go in the opposite side of that dot now, not in the same hole. So I'm going to go into the upper left side of that. And when my needle's about halfway, there it is on the back, and on the front I'm still holding it, I will let go of those threads. I'm going to pull those threads to the base of the fabric here. I'm just going to put my thumb on those threads to hold them in place while I bring my needle through, and see what I mean? It's going to be a little heftier. There we go. So keeping my thumb there all the way till I'm done. And there's our first little knot. It's cute. Yeah, this using 6 strands is definitely going to make these a little bit bigger. Oh, Nada, my cold is not quite over. It is in the full lingering state. It is, oh gosh. It's just, it's you know, it's not even anything. It's mild, but it's just, I was saying to someone, it's like an itch that you can't get rid of. Like, you think about it all day long, and you just can't shake it. But I thought I'd ease my way back in with you guys tonight. There we go, cute. Yeah, I think these are gonna be cute. But you can see I really am tugging at pulling the fabric through, and that's because, or pulling my thread through, and that is because I'm using 6 strands on tightly woven quilting weight fabric. I typically like embroidering on a fabric that is a little loosely woven, more loosely woven than quilting weight fabric. And then I usually don't stitch with 6 strands. I usually use 3 strands. But a little extra tug and we get it through, and we get these slightly bigger knots. Yeah, I think this is going to be good. So it puts enough emphasis on these little holes to bring our eyes to them a little bit more, but it doesn't, you know, it still blends in a little bit, because remember, I'm trying to make this, you know, light blonde quilt that doesn't have a ton of contrasty colors in it. I was going to try and do a colonial knot too, because I know we talked about that. Let me think if I can remember how to do that. We'll do one more French knot. So again, French knot, needle points away. Wrap around twice, hold it with your finger, aim back down to your fabric. Go next to where you put your where the thread is coming out of your fabric, not in the same hole, but next to it. Put the needle in a little, pull your thread so it's tight against the needle and the fabric. Then hold that knot in place. If you don't hold that knot in place while you're pulling the thread through, then you will get a knot that is a pile of crazy loops and just a mess. So you really want to hold these in place all the way through. There we go. So it looks like some of you guys, the video is buffering. I think the side, or I think it's fine from my side here. Ooh, I think I got a knot. Yep. Oh no, we just got a lot of gathering. But here's the back. I'm just jumping from one section to the other. Nothing fancy. All that will be hidden inside the quilt. I want to try colonial knot too. So a colonial knot is similar to a French knot. It's just constructed a little differently. So I'm going to try and do one. I don't do them very often, so I always have to kind of remember how to do them. The main difference, let's see. Oh gosh, it's been a while. But the main difference is that instead of pointing away from my fabric, pointing the needle away, now I'm pointed forward. And I think I do kind of like a figure eight. So I'm still holding the thread, kind of taut like this, and now I'm pointing forward. I'm pointing towards the fabric, and I'm going to grab a side edge like that. And then I'm going to, with this hand, with my working floss, I'm going to loop it around. So I kind of got this figure eight going. And there we go. And now I'm still going to hold that with my finger there. Go back, not in the same hole, but close. I'm going to pull that against the needle again. Yep, I think this is it. This is the colonial knot. Oh, or a floss. That's funny, Robin. I've never heard it called that before, but I suppose that makes sense. So that's like Orfil embroidery floss, right? I have not tried that before. But here we go. So here's the colonial knot. And let's see if we can tell a difference. I know that there is a difference. Let's see if I can get close enough. So there's the colonial knot. Here is the French knot. So why a lot of people like the colonial knot a little bit more is it holds its knot structure sometimes a little bit more. With the French knot, sometimes you can separate, like you can tell that they have these like loose loops. It's just being held a little bit. So if you're having a hard time with these loose loops on your French knots, you might want to try this colonial knot instead, because that seems to take care of it a little bit. Oh, a twilling knot. Catherine, I have not done that before. I'll have to look it up. All right, so I'm going to, let's do another colonial knot. So here again, forget about that knot, or that dot. I'm going up just a little bit off the center here. Oops, did I get another knot? Nope. All right, so colonial knot. Again, big difference. I'm pointing towards the fabric now. French knot, you point away. Colonial knot, you point forward. So I'm bringing my needle to the left, and I'm just kind of scooping the thread to the right. Okay? Let's hold that there with my finger. And then I'm going to loop around. Oops, did I do that wrong? Is it this way? No, I think I just go over the top and loop around the front. So again, pushing it from left to right, holding it there, and then looping around the top. So we got kind of what looks like a figure eight. And then I'm going to hold that there. Go back into the fabric, again, next to where I came out, not in the same hole. When I'm halfway, my needle's halfway, I'm going to pull that knot towards the base. And pull that guy through. I'm still holding the knot as I do it. And there we go. Our pretty little colonial knot. Yeah, I mean, from far away, you know, it's gonna look just the same. So really, it's a personal preference. The structure is different, especially if you look really close at it. The structure of the knot is just a hair different, but you know, half a dozen the other, whatever that is, 13. What is that phrase? My husband says it all the time. 6, half a dozen the other. I don't know, whatever. All right, so this, I'll do a French knot again. So instead of pointing towards, like colonial knot, I'm pointing away from the fabric, wrapping around twice, holding it with my finger, pointing back towards the fabric here, and going in next to that original knot. Once the needle's in a little bit, pulling that knot towards the base of the needle and fabric. 6 of one, half dozen of another. There it is. Thanks, Deborah. 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Yeah. My husband says it all the time, and I had never heard that phrase until I met him, and I had to really think about that phrase. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. It doesn't matter either way. Or whatever. So I'm going to do a colonial knot now. Bring it to one side and loop around. 6 to 1, half dozen the other. I think Robin, that's what he says it, how he says it. 6 to 1, half dozen the other. I think he's even skipped the 2 in that second half. 6 to 1, half dozen the other. Really quick. All like it's one word. Oh, your mom says that all the time. Oh, that's funny. Yep. Something that I hadn't heard of before. Is there a difference in DMC floss, or is DMC floss one kind of floss? DMC is a brand of floss, so they have all sorts of different flosses underneath that brand, just like how Aurifil is a brand, and so forth. So yeah, this right here is DMC floss. Yeah, that's totally just a brand. We're using this type of floss we're using here is 6-strand embroidery floss. So if you're looking for this kind of floss that has the 6 strands and they separate really easily, no matter what brand it is, it'll be called like 6-strand embroidery floss. I'm gonna trade off. We're gonna do colonial knots and French knots. I'm really kind of digging this colonial knot actually. It's it's not my go-to knot just because it's not in my system. Like it's not built into my muscle memory as much as the French knot. But it's fun. I'm liking it. I think this orange is pretty. I'm really liking this orange. All right, here's another colonial knot. Oh yeah, Aurifil floss comes on a little, I think like a little wooden spool. I think that's how, who else does it that way? Sulky, I think Sulky does it that way. Oh wait, no, I'm not, I don't think they have embroidery floss like the 6-strand embroidery floss. Maybe I'm thinking of Aurifil. But yeah, like a little wooden spool, which is awfully cute. Yeah, versus the skeins. Yeah, I think this orange is going to be just right. It just adds enough. It puts emphasis on these little holes, these little pineapple nubbins. Oh man, I don't know if I'm going to have enough floss. But it doesn't call too much attention to it, just enough. And I think the 6 strands of floss bulks it up a bit. I mean, you can see I am struggling a bit still with this fabric and this amount of floss, but you know, I'm not doing a whole embroidery project. If I had to do a whole embroidery project and pull the thread through like this, it would get pretty annoying. But you know, it's just a few knots. We'll get through it quick. Yeah, Sulky has close on a spool, but theirs is like 12 weight thread. So they encourage you to embroider with it, but it is a little bit different. But 2 strands of that, I think, is similar to like 4 strands of embroidery, 6-strand embroidery floss. If you divide it up into just 4 strands. All right, we're gonna get just enough thread out of here. Haha, love when that happens. Let's do a colonial knot. Okay, pointing towards, going from left to right, swooping it around. Those are fun too. Pulling a colonial knot, this part where you're pulling the knot to the fabric like this, feels different than in a French knot. Like I feel like I have to tug on it a little bit more to get it down to the bottom of the needle, but you know, other than that, it doesn't feel too different. Oh, you don't have the patience to wrap all your floss on those little cards. Yeah, I spent a couple hours one day doing that. Rolling them onto the cards. You don't have to actually keep them that way. You can keep them on the skein too. 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Yeah, 6 of one, half dozen the other. Yeah, he totally skips the second up. He says 6 of one, half dozen the other. And then whenever I say it, I can't ever remember it. All right, anyway, here's our last one here. Did a little French knot for the last one. Oh my God, it's cute. All right, and I'm gonna just grab some of this back fabric here to tie a knot. Nothing fancy. I'm not weaving into ends this time. Just a little knot. This will all be protected by the batting and whatever quilting we do. I'm not too worried about it. We'll tie another knot. Good measure. All right. Good enough. Nose is starting to run and throat's getting a little sore, so I think that was just the right amount of time for tonight, you guys. Here it is. I love it. It's done. Oh, we do actually have to trim this down. I'll show you that. However, I think I'm gonna wait on that. And you know what? I might not even. Oh yeah, here it is. I was gonna say my rulers are buried beneath a ton of fabric here. But first of all, it goes this way. But it is, you can see it's a little bit, it's bigger yet. We haven't cut it down. I think I'm gonna not cut it down. So typically on all my other finished blocks, I've cut them down. But remember when we were doing the free motion quilting, it kind of pulled it in a little bit. I think I might wait till we decide where this fits into our 4 patches. Like if it's in the bottom left, then I'll just cut like these 2 sides and let this side be big and hang off. Because then when we cut our final free motion quilted piece for the quilt as you go, then I'll have a little excess. So I'm gonna just leave that there. When I have the excess, I'll leave it where I can get it. So we're not gonna finish that part, and I'm not gonna press it or anything right now. We'll wait for that as well. So all right, guys, I'm gonna flip you around and I'll show you what that looks like, and we'll call it a short evening tonight. There we go. So I made it, you guys. I was not sure I would make it again tonight. This time of night, the cold kicks in again. So trying to sleep it off, but I don't know, man. It is lingering. But here we are. Oh yeah, look, from far away even, you can see those little dots. That does the trick. It just puts that little extra emphasis on those little holes, and it gives it like just such texture too. Some three-dimensionality to it. Yay! Okay. Now I can feel like I accomplished something today. Block done. So awesome, guys. We'll get a new block tomorrow for New Block Thursday. And yeah, I'm going to take a break till then. So I'll see you guys tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Central Time here. And I'll get this up on YouTube tonight at Penguin and Fish Movies. So it's nice seeing y'all again. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.